Madam of Aviation, welcome. Feed checking in with you here in a very, very special place. We are at the Museum of Discovery and Science in South Florida in Fort Lauderdale. I'm excited to take you guys along on a journey where we are special invited guests here at the IMAX Theater, where we're going to get an inside look at the documentary of what the Blue Angels deal with on a day-to-day basis. I'm excited to see it. I don't know anything about it, so I'm excited to go in and take a look at it. Why don't you come check it out with us? We'll see you there. Hello, everyone. Are you guys excited to see the show? Hey, there we go. Well, good evening and welcome to the special IMAX premiere of the Blue Angels. It's an honor to be invited to share an exciting evening with all of you as we delve into a documentary about an inspirational squadron that means very much to me, the United States Navy Blue Angels. The mission of the Blue Angels is to showcase the teamwork and professionalism of the United States Navy and Marine Corps through flight demonstrations and community outreach, while inspiring a culture of excellence and service to country. What does that mean exactly? Well, when you're on the road 300 plus days a year, performing in a different city every single week, sometimes multiple cities a week, the team displays a methodical symphony of teamwork and aerial excellence that inspires crowds of all ages. Focus, determination, and the daily pursuit of perfection is what drives the team to demonstrate impossibly close aerial demonstrations for the world to see. As a kid, as I know most of you did, I had Blue Angel posters all over my room. Well, 8 years after I enlisted in the Navy, I was given the opportunity to commission as an ensign and go to flight school to pursue the coveted wings of gold. Let me tell you, flight school was a humbling experience. I worked and studied as hard as I possibly could because deep down, my goal was to eventually fly the F-18. I've served at numerous duty stations across the country. I've done numerous deployments and I've touched just about every corner of the globe. But out of everything I've done in my career, nothing comes close to being selected to serve with the United States Navy Blue Angels. I want to note that I'm not in the documentary, nor did I have any part of demonstrating or doing anything with the production. But a lot of the people in this film are some of my closest friends. I did serve on the Blue Angels from 2016 to 2018. I was number 7, the narrator. I was number 6, the opposing solo. And I was number 5, the lead solo. So I'm intimately familiar with what we're about to see. I hope you're all as excited as I am as we watch my friends and fellow teammates perform during this premiere this evening. Thank you to the Museum of Discovery and Science, E3 Aviation, and Banyan Air Service for hosting this special event. Once a Blue Angel, always a Blue Angel. Enjoy the show.
First time you take off, you gotta push the I believe button.
I fell in love with aviation at 4 years old. My dad took me to an air show, and I got to watch the Blue Angels fly for the very first time.
This year, we're bringing 5 new people into this team. Something I never thought was actually gonna happen.
It's 1 in a million.
We only have 3 months to get to a point where we can take it on the road.
It can be frustrating at times. The challenge is to get the newbies up to speed, and that can be scary. When you're flying 12 inches apart, everybody's lives are in each other's hands.
It's an eye-opener for how inherently dangerous this job is.
Ready, roll, hat.
Every once in a while, the jets just kind of freeze, and the world around you seems to spin.
To make 6 jets fly as one, That's the Blue Angel magic. I just pinch myself. We get a chance to be part of it.
With all these things that I've done.
Well, I was definitely emotional for me. As I told you guys, I had no clue what they would or would not talk about. And so this was the first time I got to see it as well. So for me, to be able to watch that, to see a lot of the people that I have served with, I made some notes to bring up to you guys. How many of you have ever been to a Blue Angel show before? Just about everybody? There you go. All right. Who hasn't been? Okay. All right. There's a few of you. All right. Cool. So do you guys want to be Blue Angel pilots now? Right? Yeah. Me too. So some of the things that I took note of, I'm going to give you guys some brain teasers, things like that to think about. So in case any of you guys have questions. If you imagine being in a squadron like this, in any business, any sports, any school, any education system, any museum, any aviation platform, anything like that, think about if your entire network of employees, coworkers, supervisors, people that work for you, all had that level of motivation. Just think about that for a second and be like, is that actually a possible thing? It is possible because we do it every year. Now, take note of that about a third, sometimes even closer to 50% of the team changes over every single year. So imagine making an iconic name like the Blue Angels where you lose 50% of that corporate knowledge every single year. That's a crazy thing to think about, right? As Boss talked about, he said the end of season show, when you land, the license plates have changed, your parking spots, your names, everything is gone and you are out the door. That's it. Poof, gone, never to come back. That's a crazy thing to think about. So as we say, I'll fix it all and I'm glad to be here, boss. Everybody says that mentality. Some things of note, end of season week. You notice they kind of dropped anchor on that a lot because it's a family. It truly is a family. You deploy with these men and women all over the world sometimes, depending on the season, depending on the year. So when you come to end of season week, it's starting to sink in. I did 3 years on the team as number 7, 6, and 5, as I spoke about earlier. But some of the things to take note of that is you're like, oh, I've got a couple of years on the team, it's fine. All that stuff will be fine, it's great, everything's wonderful. And then you kick your heels 3 times because it's over in a flash. And then you realize, if you remember the picture that I had up, I had a picture of myself with the crew chief, Mike McDuffie, one of my crew chiefs, that I created a bond unlike anything I've ever had before. Some of the things that we've talked about on that airplane, as we call it the 5 craft, stay aboard the 5 craft because he's like my brother. He's my confidant. He's somebody that I could talk to and be like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? If you'd noticed, Boss Woolridge spoke about he's never done a pre-flight on an airplane before. Raise your hand if we've got some pilots in the rooms. Anybody got, okay? How many times have you guys walked out to your airplane before and never looked at it? You walk right to the seat, turn the engine on, and away you go. We don't do that, right? But inside the United States Navy's Blue Angels, we do that 100% of the time. Not once have I looked at the airplane. I give all the trust and confidence to the crew chiefs as well as everybody else. As you can see, this is the end of the season there, 2018. My family is the last time that we left the team. And that's it. Once that salute drop happens, it's over. Like poof, gone, Casper. You notice the interview. They talked about the interview there. I remember that hallway like it was yesterday. The most stressful nerves running through your veins. You're like, there's no way they're going to pick me. There's no way. And somehow, some way they did. And I will be thankful for them for the rest of my life. You notice they talked about Jeff Coos. So we're a family. And Jeff Coos passed away on June 2nd, 2016. I was sadly there, watched it happen directly in front of me. One of my best friends left behind a beautiful wife and 2 little baby children. As we talk about a lot through this video, is that it's a family. So you notice my hair's done this way. That was his idea because we wanted to do prohibition haircuts that year. So that's what the team decided to do. And when he passed away, I haven't changed my haircut since. So every day I wake up, I look in the mirror, set my hair this way, and it's a remembrance to Jeff Coos. So, bro, miss you. You know, Cheese and everybody talked about what it's like to fly formation. Well, imagine when you guys go home today, if you're driving down the road, if you're driving down the freeway, don't do this, but I want you to think about it, is imagine driving down the freeway, looking at the car next to you and never looking forward once. That's what it's like. You let the car to the left or to the right of you drive you around, and you never once look in front of you. That's what it's like to fly formation. Now to fly Blue Angel formation, now imagine rolling your window down and taking the key and trying to put it into the key trunk spot while you're driving, never looking forward. You're like, all right, I'm gonna get a little closer, I'm gonna get a little closer, and you do that for roughly 40 to 50 minutes every single time you fly. It's crazy to think about. Debriefs. You noticed some of the moments there probably got a little stressful inside the debrief. Imagine being told that you suck at your job every single day, all day, by the best friends all day that you serve with. 300 days out of the year, you see them while you're on the road, like, hey, what's up, man? It's great to see you. Yeah, you know you suck today? Every single day. And you're like, you know what? It takes a lot to be like, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on that. I'll fix it all. I'm glad to be here, boss, because there's no such thing as a perfect day, right? No such thing as a perfect flight. Viewpoints. You notice how solos in the Diamond, a little bit of this going on, right? Because it's a healthy rivalry between the two. Everybody knows that funnel cake and bathroom time is when the Diamond flies. And everybody knows when you want to get your cameras out, it's when the solos are flying, because that's where the action really happens, right? So I just wanted to point some of those things out. As you notice, one big thing is that I'd like to say when I was number 5 is 25% of our job is inside the cockpit, and 75% of our job is outside the cockpit, motivating the next generation to go do something absolutely incredible. And as you notice, some of the hardest parts of being a Blue Angel is when you have to go do things that hit home, very difficult, and it hits home hard. Going to hospitals, going to see wounded warriors, going to see things at air shows in different cities when you're there, and you have to be strong and firm and motivate that person no matter what they've been through and tell them, you know what, it's going to be great, it's going to be awesome, let's get through this together. Even though you take those moments with you as you go motivate those people, like Boss talked about, distractions. Distractions is one of the biggest things. If you get distracted about something at home, water pipe breaks, kid gets sick, car breaks down, you name it, whatever, life still happens when we're on the road, right? So compartmentalization and getting our distractions minimized to zero is really a big thing that the team tries to strive to do. And it's not just within the pilots, because that happens within our enlisted personnel as well. And you can tell when one of your team members isn't functioning at 110%. You can tell, because our minimum bar every single day is 110%. If you think about the enlisted officer relationship that's inside the Blue Angels, it's unlike anything you will ever see in your military career. For those of you that will serve in the future, it's the total trust and confidence. And when you leave, it's just, man, it was very special for me to be able to watch that. So I just wanted to point those things out to you guys. I'll open it up now for a little bit of Q&A session. Before we take our first question, one thing I want to note is when you guys leave, please go up the stairs and exit out that way, and then they'll help direct you guys from there, okay? I'll be up there as well, okay? So who's got some questions in the crowd? What was my favorite part about going to the National Naval Aviation Museum? You mean in Pensacola?
Yeah, the one in Pensacola. I've been there last year, summer. And I watched the Blue Angels in Las Olas last year, April.
So one of the things that's, thanks for asking that question. One of the things that's really special for me, if you guys remember what Frank said the first time he went to a Blue Angel show was at 4 years old. My parents took pictures of me when I was a little kid holding up the Blue Angel Diamond in the atrium, to then go through flight school in Pensacola, to do that as a flight school student, and to then go through that same atrium and see those same jets hanging as a Blue Angel pilot. It's one of the most magical experiences I've ever had, to sit there and say, I remember being in that exact same spot as a little tiny kid, first time I came down here. It's a very special, iconic place. And if you guys haven't been, it's in the same state, so I'm gonna recommend y'all go up there and check it out. Great question, buddy. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Why is your cargo plane bigger than the jets?
Okay, great question. Why is the cargo plane bigger than the jets? Okay, so if you see here, we have 6 pilots, right? Those are for the 6 jets. That's all we have to put in those jets is 1 pilot per jet. Now, when the big cargo plane, affectionately known as Fat Albert, gets up there, we have to take all of our support equipment, all of our maintainers, extra parts, our comm gear, everything goes inside of that. And I'm really glad you brought this up, because Fat Albert is our miracle worker. You see how hard these jets fly every single day, every time. Well, most of the time the jets are going to break. And guess what? We're not at home in Pensacola. We're somewhere around the country, somewhere around the globe. So our Fat Albert crew, our pilots and our maintainers that have to fix these jets at night, if there's a part that needs to be picked up somewhere else, Fat Albert's flying all night long to go get that part, to fly all the way back for our maintainers and our enlisted personnel to work all night long. So when the next show happens in the morning, there's 6 beautiful jets sitting on the flight line and nobody knows. It's all smoking mirrors. They have no clue that 18 to 26-year-old, even a little bit more, of these enlisted personnel that have been working their tails off all night long to get these jets up and running. Once again, if you remember, we never look at our jets. They've been taken apart and put back together 10,000 times in one season. And as a pilot that max performs the airplane, we've never even looked at the jet once. How many times do you guys look at your tires and turn your blinkers on and be like, am I out of gas? Do I need this? Let me check the oil. We don't do any of that. That's insane. Isn't it crazy? Yeah, up there.
How does it feel when you do diamond?
I wouldn't know because I'm a solo pilot. Great question. The question was, if you guys didn't hear it, what's it like to fly in the Diamond or something of that nature? I'll let a Diamond pilot down the road answer that question. Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about your experience when you fly upside down.
Okay, that's a great question. The question is, what's the experience like when you fly upside down? So, most of you probably know this, but right now we are at 1G, right? So whatever your body weight is, that's 1G, 1 times the force of gravity. Well, think ketchup packets. Our bodies down below are like ketchup packets. They can swell, right? If you guys ever slammed on, floored it in a car or something like that, and you feel that acceleration, right? That's G-forces placed on your body. Well, now when we're upside down, our skull is solid bone. There's nowhere for the blood to go. So now, even when you're flying upside down, you're now at negative 1G. Doesn't go to 0G, it's now negative 1G. And any push on the stick severely increases the negative G's placed on your body. So, as a 200-pound person, I can tell you now negative 200 pounds placed on my brain, that's a lot of blood. And sometimes I will push in the demonstration upwards of negative 3 G's. So now there's 600 pounds placed on my skull. Instead of blacking out, sometimes you can red out because the blood fills up like a fishbowl. So anytime you fly with somebody as a guest writer in the back seat, I'd say, hey, when we go inverted, do not flex at all because it's really going to hurt and you're going to have purple mascara when your eyebrows and your eyelids, all the capillaries explode in your eyes. So that's a really great question. Yes? What year did you start in the Blue Diamond? So I selected for the team 15 years after I joined the military. I joined the Navy in June of 2000 and was selected in July of 2015 to serve on the 2016, 17, and 18 seasons. So it took me upwards of 15 years to achieve my dream after. Wow, that's really cool. Yes?
Is it ever too windy to do a performance?
You asked the million-dollar question. Is it ever too windy? The answer, generally speaking, is no. But yes, there is a caveat to that. But, so who's heard of the FAA? Right? Yes, we know about the FAA, right? They're there to help us, and there to protect us, and there to protect all the crowd. But what I want to talk about is, let's say you guys are the crowd right now, and I'm the airshow pilot flying in front of you. Let's say there's 50 knots of wind pointing right at the crowd. Think how much work boss has to do to keep the jets from flying over the crowd. That's such a great question. You don't even realize how awesome that is. I'm really proud of you for asking that. Now, take the same wind that's blowing in front of you and now put it coming from this direction, right? The solos adjust to what the diamond does because boss is boss. So boss sets the formation. Well, the FAA is watching very closely. So boss has to work as hard as possible when there's really strong winds out there, which he is constantly adjusting. If you've flown in airliners and you look outside, you're like, why are we skidding across the ground? because there's a lot of wind up at altitude. Now, if you've noticed, maybe next time you guys watch it, pay attention and see, in the very beginning of the video, Boss talks about what the surface 3, 6, and 9K winds are. That means surface 3,000, 6,000, and 9,000 foot winds, because they all are different. Let's say there's no wind on the surface, but there's 50 knots at 9,000 feet when they do the top of their loop. That puts them directly over the crowd, which they can't do. So Boss is continuously adjusting. The solos are continuously adjusting, so we don't fly over the crowd. Such a great question. Yes?
You ever lose consciousness in G-force training?
So, great question. I am built Ford tough. So I've been very lucky to not pass out. I will tell you, as you saw, Stalin passed out, Mini Boss Scribe passed out. So generally speaking, fighter pilots throughout most of their careers will go through the centrifuge once in flight school. Who served in the military in here? Anybody? Thank you guys so much for your service, all of you. Thank you guys. Now, Blue Angel pilots go once a year. And when they get selected to the team, they go as newbies, which is what you saw. Then they go right again the very next day without a G-suit. We call that the pilot destroyer. I was talking to Brian, explaining it to him, saying, hey, this is Brian, or this is Mac, this is Mike, these guys. Anytime I see those guys, I know without a shadow of a doubt that this is pilot destruction day, because going through the centrifuge with G-suits is one thing. Going through the centrifuge with no G-suits is something completely different. If you remember that catch-up packet I was talking about, it is an eye-opening experience. F-16s, we hear 9Gs, we hear things like that. Those seats are leaned to 60 degrees, so the Gs hit you differently instead of going straight down your spine, which is why when you have no G-suit protection, it can put you to sleep almost immediately. We've got about enough time for one more question, one or two more questions. All right. Let's see it all the way in the corner. Yes?
How were the jets transported?
How are the jets transported? Via those pilots. So every single time we go to a different show site, on Sunday, we will do a full demonstration. We'll do a full debrief. We'll go through that entire thing. We'll sign crowd line, photos and pictures and whatever, and then we race inside. Then we will debrief very quickly and then brief up our transit to our next show site. And it is a long, long, long day. Yep, so there's no spare pilots. This is it. This is all you see is the normally 17, 18 members on the team. 6 to 7 demonstration pilots is what you see there. So, yep, let's see. Last question. Yes, sir.
How did you earn feedback?
That's a question I'll tell you at the bar. Thank you guys so much. Please. Yep. Okay, thank you guys so much. Thank you very much. Hey guys, we are wrapping it up. An incredible evening. We're here at the Museum of Discovery and Science. We just got a sneak peek at the Blue Angel IMAX release. It's coming out soon on Amazon. If you liked what you saw here today, click below, subscribe. We'll see you out there. See you on the flight line. Feed out.